Hello, this is Verso. Jamie with Sam from DareToTalk. Coming up in a minute is an interview we just recorded with two wonderful ladies called Alex and Lisa from a group they've set up called Bee Sober. Sam?
Yeah, the girls, they were a massive inspiration for DareToTalk. I found them when I was struggling at the beginning of my sobriety, and they helped me out a lot. So to get them on the show was just incredible. They're full of character, they're bubbly, and they're just brilliant girls with great advice.
Yeah, they were. I really enjoyed the interview. It's just shy of 40 minutes, 40 minutes, and it was like speaking to people I'd known for years. So hopefully you'll all enjoy it, and those that need to can take something away from it.
Yep, brilliant.
Yep, so enjoy the interview, and then follow us on all the usual places and share around your socials. Let's build our listener base up.
Yeah, get the community up, get the message out there, and let's all help as many people as possible.
Super job. See you all soon. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the DareToTalk podcast.
Dare to dip.
So with me is Sam, who's going to introduce our wonderful guests today.
All right, girls.
Hi.
This is Alex and Lisa from Bee Sober. How you doing?
Really good, thanks. Excited.
I'm excited.
It means so much to me for you girls coming on. Honestly, I've come back from, I'm 4.5 months sober from a relapse, and
amazing. Well done.
And I was in a job before that I didn't like. It's a toxic environment. I left that job, got one with better money, ended up relapsing. I crashed the car, lost my job, and ended up back in the job that I wasn't happy in. And I stumbled across your girls' podcast, and that couldn't come at a better time for me, because that was right at the beginning of my recovery. And without that, I don't know if I'd have managed to stay on track. So I just wanted to thank you for that. But
lovely thing to say.
Just before Sam continues, can you tell our listeners who you two are and what your podcast is all about? I mean, it's clearly obvious by the name of your podcast, but can you sort of elaborate a little bit more and who you are and what you do?
Definitely. Well, we'll try. We've not really nailed squeezing this down into a short sentence yet between us, have we, Alex?
No,
but,
we really haven't.
We'll go with the podcast. So that kind of basically started from us being sober and seeing sobriety as a bit of an experiment rather than a challenge. So when it first started, it was genuinely Alex and myself, Lisa, just, if you've listened to the first few episodes, I get a bit nervous and embarrassed about this, because we just thought
a grape at someone.
Yeah, we loved our chats, right? And we've been friends since we was 11 years old. So we chat all the time, and I'd listen to podcasts, and they'd really help me in my sobriety journey. So I was like, Alex, we need to be doing one of these podcasts. It'd be so funny. You know, when we're on the phone and we're talking about it, we were like, this needs to be a podcast. So that's how it kind of started. And then it's just grown and grown and grown since.
Didn't you start off by recording in a wardrobe on a beanbag?
Yeah. The first ever one was in Alex's conservatory, and it took us an hour. And the guy who was helping us, like, with the equipment and stuff like that, he came in and he was like, have you finished? And we'd not even started because we'd laughed that much, like belly laughed. And then it ended up in my wardrobe. But that's how it kind of started.
I listened to so funny in a wardrobe. She used to move all the shit clothes to one side so that it looked...
I don't have shit clothes.
Joking.
Now, I haven't listened yet, ladies, but I will do. Do you edit?
No,
I'm exactly the same with the podcasts I'm involved in. I just do it, and then it's more honest, isn't it? Because I'm a bit lazy as well. I don't want to do this and then have to spend another 3 or 4 hours fiddling around with things. I just want it done up so people can listen to it.
What when we say we don't edit, okay, there's been maybe 3 occasions when we have. 2 out of them have been when I've dropped us in it, because I'm really good at doing that, and I've said something dead offensive that's when we've edited it out. We've had to, otherwise we would have.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, and I've not thought it was offensive until Lisa's told me afterwards that the person I'm talking about has been dead or something like that. Check it out. So, and then the other time we edit now, just because things have progressed, is just to put in the adverts from a sponsor we've got, but nothing's cut out or removed. So in terms of taking things out, no, what you hear is what you get.
That's a decision we made ourselves. I think it's what comes across much more honest, and I think that's why why your viewers like it so much as well, because it is so honest, and you're having fun while you're talking about serious stuff as well. And I don't know if you realize how well, I'm sure you do, but you do such a good job, and you've helped me, which is helped me help other people as well. So it has a roll-on effect. So thank you, girls. I appreciate it.
So here's one for you. As I said, I don't have the problem with drink or anything like that. What would I get out of listening to your podcast?
Oh, you'd have a right
laughing at us.
You'd probably do you drink? What's your relationship with alcohol like?
You're interviewing Lisa.
Well, if I'm going to be brutally honest, I lost my father through alcoholism.
Yeah.
Basically drunk himself to death through whiskey. My relationship is I don't touch spirits. One, I think it might be a little bit psychological, but two is I hate having a massive hangover, and it used to give me hangovers. So I've never really been spirits, but when I drink a lot of beer. But this year, but I've just reached my first year anniversary of this diet I've been on. I've lost nearly 6.5 stone.
Wow.
Yeah, well
And part of that was cutting out on alcohol. So it wasn't a necessity. I just happened. And I still go out for a drink with the boys, but it's a rarity now, rather than a weekly or two or twice a week or 3 times a week occurrence. It's minimal now. And that's solely because of my diet, and now that I've become a little bit obsessed with it, and I want to maintain it, you see. And I know that if I drink, I'll then eat Chinese, I'll eat a kebab, I'll eat a fried breakfast the next day, because I never had. So I think if I had to pinpoint something as a weakness or a problem, maybe it was food with me.
Yeah.
And
It's a funny
alcohol
one, you
was
know.
the trigger to that food.
Jamie lost all that weight, and I found some of it.
I did
we
when I
can
stopped
both really
drinking.
relate to the losing a parent from alcohol, and you'll know that anyway, Sam, from this.
Yeah.
But I lost my dad through alcoholism, and Lisa lost her stepdad, and neither of them were spirit drinkers. And it's interesting how our mindset is like, oh, well, I don't drink spirits, so I'm all right, but I drink loads of beer when I go out with my mates. And literally, and I promise you, that was us. You know, we weren't spirit drinkers. We weren't top shelfers particularly. We might have a cocktail here and there or a couple of shots. Lisa was the shot girl, you know, but it was more that, not that it was a dependency or an addiction, but just that it became a problem for us. And that's kind of the flag that we wave at Bee Sober. It doesn't have to be a drinking problem for you to want to give up. If it's just something you're depending on to go and have a laugh, or you find that you can never go out without it, or when you have to drive, you're like, oh, I've got to drive, it's going to be boring, or getting up in the morning with a hangover is just too much. That's kind of the thing that we say. It doesn't have to be what you class as alcoholism.
It
just happens that half our members gave up for reasons that you've just described, and we can relate, because honestly, I think definitely me, I won't speak for Lisa for once, but definitely me, my relationship would have gone down the alcoholism route if I hadn't have stopped, because I was getting to the point of needing a drink to function, not physically, but definitely emotionally. And that's what then takes you into that physical dependency place, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, I used to, like, if I had a bad day at work, oh, I need a drink. Oh, I've had a bad day, I need a beer. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
If I've had a bad day at work, I'll have
Suck it up.
I'll have an extra 99 calorie chocolate yogurt, you know.
Well, we'll live a little. But the difference between me and Jamie is if I felt like that and had one drink after work, one drink was never enough for me. 1,000 drinks was never enough. So if I just had one drink, then I would I would spiral out of control, and then I'd isolate myself. And for 3-4 months, I'd just end up being locked. And it wasn't just a drink; I'd end up taking drugs and locking myself away from everyone that loves me, and just feeling completely sorry for myself and just obliterating myself. And that is the difference between some people, isn't it?
It's such a big difference. You know, my ex-husband was very much like you, really, in his drinking. And one of the main reasons I stopped drinking, as well as that I needed to be showing up a lot more as a parent for my teenagers, and I was going out trying to shut everything off.
Wait a second, you've got teenagers?
I've got a 23-year-old.
Wow.
Not drinking, look, that's what does it.
I still call them teenagers. Yeah, that's what it is. But one of the main reasons was that I needed to show up because they were going through a particularly rough time. But people around me were drinking a lot. So my ex-husband was, what he would say that he was an alcoholic, and he was very much like that. He would drink a lot. He would then go into like this isolation of taking drugs that that he thought I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And I found that a lot of my stopping drinking was actually to try and stop other people drinking around me.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't until I stopped drinking that I realized that it was problematic for me.
Yeah.
But I never stopped because I thought it was a problem. I stopped because other people were having a problem with it, and I wanted to kind of stop for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make absolute sense. Yeah. And you grow through what you go through, and you realize that's brilliant. That is, yeah. But that's another thing you touched on with your kids. That's when I was drinking and that, I've always had me kids in my life, but I was robbing them with my presence, and now I've stopped drinking, then I'm giving it back to them. Do you know what I mean? And life is so much better.
And I must say, watching Sam with his kids, it's wonderful. He's a fantastic father.
Oh, don't you make me cry.
I know you're making me goose pimply, to be honest, because I know the difference that it can make. And, you know, there might be people listening that maybe just have a few glasses of wine or a few beers after work, but they don't realise that that's actually robbing the presents from the children
because
as well.
It makes you slightly, even just a couple of drinks makes you slightly irritable and ratty the next day, which can lead to a negative thought, leads to another and another and another, and it can affect your whole day, can't it?
Oh, yeah, and your kids get in your way when you're trying to talk and have a drink. You're like, go away, go over there. I'm talking, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, oh, they'll be fine in there, all them kids going wild, jumping over sofas together while they're
having a great time. And it's the same with young ones as well. You know, I've got 3, and my youngest, when I think about that, I used to rush through the bedtime story on a Friday so I could get down and start my bottle of wine.
Yeah, and
the little things, but you don't realise they're happening, and it doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It just means you're part of what society expects you to.
No, that's one thing I didn't want, is to, when I have my kids over the weekend, like, I love spending time with them, but like sort of having one eye on the clock to see when it was beer o'clock. Do you know what I mean? And that, and I've realised that my kids deserve better than that. Thank God I realised. Do you know what I mean? And it's nice to have a even better, because I've always thought I was a good dad, but now looking back, I realise that now there's always room for improvement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're doing amazing. You are.
Thank you.
See, and peer pressure pays a lot, doesn't it? Because growing up, or get to an age where you go out with your mates for beer and that, and then you turn up, you're not drinking, the names you get called, we won't repeat some of the derogatory names you get, in a beer, but now if I meet friends and I'm having one of my days, or I can go weeks without a drink because of me weight loss, and I'll say, no, I'll just have a Diet Pepsi, Pepsi Max or whatever, and now it's you're not getting that.
I get a lot of people when I'm sat with an orange juice and lemonade, they'll go, do you not just want a half?
Yeah. No, I never wanted a half when I was a drinker. What is wrong with you? No point in that. Shut up, go away, have your pint.
Does anyone ever offer you non-alcohol beer?
That's interesting, because you girls like that, don't you? I don't trust myself with it. I worry, right, that I will get the taste for it, and it's just not for me. But I know other people that get on really well for it. But me, I never really picked the drink up and thought, oh, I like the taste of that.
Yeah.
Can I be honest with you about this though, right?
Yeah.
I do a decent non-alcoholic red wine, and if they did, I would probably have to stay away from it.
Yeah.
That was my drink of choice, and I think I would feel like that. But now drinking something non-alcoholic that is nothing like what I used to drink.
Yeah.
Brain isn't sort of doing that. So I do get it. Like if you're a drinker and there's non-alcoholic beer, it can be a little bit close for comfort. And that's what we always say. Only have them if they don't trigger you to do something, you know, dangerous for yourself. So
that's
go around saying try them for somebody who was triggered ever.
That's it. Yeah. The thing with me is I've got a very addictive personality. I've explained it before, but not just with drink, with if I open a packet of sweets or biscuits, I have all of them. Do you know what I mean? And
I'm like that.
I worry that I'll drink, like get into the habits. I was just trying to break old habits and that. So at the minute,
our first podcast interview, we had a gentleman called Carl who come around our house, come around my house, didn't he? And me, Sam, and Carl sat around the table. And before we started, my wife had actually got drinks out and she's got a packet of biscuits for everyone. And Sam kept looking at them. I was like, go on, have one. So he opened them. And he was about 8.
Yeah, I would.
I was trying to say to him, I can't just have one.
Yeah. Honestly, Sam, I'm exactly the same with it. You know, and I use excuses as well, because you were saying about, I think the food thing is very, very similar, you know, well, in addictions. But like the other day I went, and I don't tell many people this, but ice cream Snickers, right?
You're just telling thousands now. Well done.
I know. Well, ice cream Snickers, they've shrunken really small. So I can easily eat 4 of them, right? Out from on the way home and convince myself that that's okay because they've shrunken really small and it's like having one big one. So these are, but I literally, and then I feel so awful afterwards. And why did I do that?
I can't buy anything that's buy one get one free, because buy one get one free equals 2 for me.
It does. A meal for 4. It's not, is it? Who actually cooks it for 4 people and share? You don't, do you?
Right about that Snickers though, because I was the same with Walker's Crisps. Walker's Crisps,
I love them.
I could, if someone put 1,000 bags in front of me, I'd eat them all.
I could.
Now I'd buy a 6-pack, so I'd get one out and think, well, 25 grams, they used to be 33. I'm having 2. Then you have 2, and you think, well, do you know what? A third one would just be about right. Then my number OCD kicks in and says, you can't finish on an odd number, Jamie. You've got to have a 4th bag.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
you can't leave 2.
They're a bit lonely. I better have them. And that's gone. That's 6 bags gone in one hit.
It's how we convince ourselves. That's what it is, how we talk to ourselves. And a lot of it, what we actually believe and what we help people work on is the mindset around it. And, you know, sobriety for me personally brought me so much joy and happiness. And I really focused on all the good things that it brought.
That's tense, Lisa. That's still now.
Well, it is. There's like, and I say this all the time, and I do, but every single day there is something that I'm grateful for, and I put down to sobriety. And people that used to know me, I know they're thinking, she must have drank more than she's telling. She must have drank in the morning. She must have drank here. And I didn't. It's just the way that I've helped, like my mindset around it.
Gratitude is a big one as well. I've got into the habit now. I do cold water therapy in the mornings and that.
I want to talk to you about that, and we're not going to have fully time, are we? But I really want to talk to you about that. We'll get you on hours.
Well, before I wake up, I'll get up every morning going to the North Sea. But before then, I do 10 things as soon as I wake up, 10 things that I'm grateful for in my head. And I start my day off on gratitude, go in, get in the water. And we've said before that if you start your day off on a positive, then the rest of the day follows suit, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's hard for people, you know, sometimes people sit there or stand. I don't know why I wanted to say that. They can sit, they can stand, they can be walking. They could be anywhere. But they can be like, they can find it hard to find things to be grateful for. And it's so cliche and corny, but the more that you practice it and the more that you do it, the more things, like I am grateful for everything. It really is.
The more you practice it. When I first stopped drinking, right, let's go back to before I stopped drinking. The reason I stopped was different than Lisa's, and I stopped because I had a mental health crash, okay? And I was using alcohol to try and work my way through that crash. And at the end of it, I knew I'd had enough of drinking. I just knew I'd had enough. And Lisa was already sober, and she came around and she was like, you've got stuff to be grateful for. You have. Find something. Just look at that tree outside. Everyone has a tree. Be grateful for the tree.
That could have gone the other way. You could end up hugging him.
Oh, we did. I've got a picture of Alex hugging a tree, and it was one of my biggest achievements. That she actually, and it weren't that she just hugged the tree, she felt it. I know she did. I saw it in her eyes. She loved it.
Has your sobriety changed your group of friends, your friend circle?
Yeah, and it's something I think we're very feared of telling people in the early days of sobriety, when sometimes that's the only friends that they think they've got. It can be very scary, because a lot of people use like, oh, but it's my social life. Who would I be without it? And I think, but in the truth is, it has completely and utterly changed. And I spent a lot of time alone, very alone, which is how, again, why we started Bee Sober, because Alex and I realised how important connection was with people that got it, with like-minded people, because you can't have the same conversations.
So important.
You just can't, can you?
It really is important. And the thing is, at the beginning, you think you're frightened of letting go of those friendships. They are your friendships. But I think what's important here is, as you travel along your sober journey, naturally you gravitate towards different people. So it's not like, you can't, mind you, I was told once, don't come to my house till you start drinking again. But it's like, it's not like everyone just turns around and goes bye-bye. That doesn't actually happen. It's a gradual thing. So somebody might not invite you somewhere because they think you might feel awkward, or you might say no because you don't want to put yourself in that position. And then you might end up going for a coffee with somebody who's sober. And bit by bit, it just shifts. And you honestly, you realise that you never had anything in common with them in the first place.
No, and that's it. And what I've had to step away from family members, from friends, but for myself, for my kids, and it's no coincidence that when I'm going through the madness and I'm my mindset, and I'm using drink and using drugs, I'm hanging around with other people that are using drink and drugs. You hang around with what you're repelling. And now I've got myself sober, I'm hanging around with people that are positive, and people that are looking to change their lives as well. And if the people from my past can come out of that and try and get into that life, then but until then, you have to let some people go in order to save yourself. And you can be there to help them, but once they're there, but you have to be very careful who you keep in your circle, because when you're fragile, and especially newly, I had a lot of sober time behind me, and I see the mistakes I made this time from the relapse, and I've learned a lot from it. But that is one thing, you have to be careful who you're letting into your life and who you're letting into your mind. More importantly, definitely.
So what timescales are you two ladies on then? When was the last time you both had a drink? We talked a long time.
Yeah, my last day of drinking was June the 1st, 2019. And I've not picked one up. I woke up with the worst hangover ever on the 2nd and said, never. In fact, we've got a video of it, haven't we, Lisa? But I just said never again. And Lisa was like a year before. When was your last day?
Mine was the 9th of July. I've just picked up my phone to look at my sober app because I love it. And I don't check it. It works for some people, the counting and the sober app. And I just love having it there. I will never delete this sober app. I don't look at it as much anymore. And I don't look at it as like counting, as in, counting. I see it as a massive achievement, and I'm dead proud of it. So it was actually 3 years, 6 months, and 18 days.
That's amazing. That is amazing. You're an inspiration, and that's what I want. Like that, and now I have to take it. I take it a step at a time, one day at a time. I was on the phone to someone earlier, because with these dips I'm doing that, I try and help people with their mental health and drinking and that, and offer advice, and people ring me constantly, which is good. I want people to open up. But someone was saying to me this morning, actually, that they can't stand the thought of, and it scares them, and never being able to have a drink ever again.
Yeah.
So I said, you don't have to think about forever. You just think one day at a time. And my goal ultimately at the end of the day is to get my head on the pillow sober at the end of each day. And you don't have to think too far ahead. You just have to put one foot in front of the other, go day by day. But I'll set myself little goals, and I'm looking forward to the future. And there was a time where I thought I didn't have one, so I'm very grateful today.
It's dead important, and I think that day does come. You know, my dad was, before my dad died, he did die of alcoholism, but he was sober for 10 years before he died, and was told to stop drinking. And he told me that he didn't think about it anymore, and it did come. It took a long time for him, and he was stereotypical alcoholic. And think we are now at a point where the only reason we think about alcohol is because that's the area we work in. I don't think it'd enter our heads. I mean, we joke sometimes and say stuff, inappropriate stuff like, oh, come on, let's just go out. But, you know, we genuinely wouldn't do it. It's not just been removed from the options, hasn't it now, Lisa?
Yeah, I'm the same with my friends. We always have a joke whenever because I know you two don't, but I do like a CA meeting and an AA meeting. And when I come out there, I'm always like, pint. You have a joke as you go through it, don't you? But
the thing is, that's who you are and part of your personality, and something that me and Alex used to always say to each other, and especially if we were like a bit stressed or things were getting on top of us, where let's just go out and get smashed. So you can't help but still say that, and obviously we don't mean it, but we're like, oh, can you imagine if we just went out and got smashed now?
We know it bring
nothing
pissed.
to us. And we've learned
podcast.
can always gone through full scenarios. We've laughed about it, haven't we?
That's amazing though.
We wouldn't do it.
If there was anyone like struggling now and like listening to this, what advice would you give them with the sobriety you've got behind you?
Mine 100% would be to see it as an experiment. You know, you said it there, and it's something that everybody says in recovery or the sober community about the one day at a time, but there's a reason that these cliches are there, and it is one day at a time, 1 hour at a time if you have to do, but don't see it as a challenge and focus on all the things that you're gaining. You're taking one thing away. It's liquid in a glass at the end of the day. You are going to gain so much. And if you can just see it as an experiment, who are you without it? Have you ever been to a birthday party and not drank? Like, what is it like? See it all as an experiment. And I think I just stand by that always, because it just helped me so much to kind of try and discover who I was. Because all I ever knew I was Lisa that drank.
Yeah.
On every occasion. That was my identity. Lisa.
You still treat things that you're not sure of or you've not done as an experiment, like, oh, what will this be like? You still do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And mine would be connect, because obviously I've never had to be sober alone, but I know that Lisa has been sober alone, and I know how isolating and how lonely that was for her, and how I've had such a different experience than her. I always had her to sort of say, it's going to be all right. Look, you're going to get through this wedding. You're going to, same sort of thing, but on the other side, you're going to get through this wedding, because the only thing you're not having is the champagne. You're still going to have the music. You're still going to have the conversations. You can still leave early. It's okay to not go to the pub or not stay late. I've had that. And I think connection with people who just get what you're doing is really important, whether that be through a 12-step group or whether it be through a community, or even if it's like a virtual thing, like a drop. We have the drop-in lounges on a Thursday that you know about. You know, you can come along to them. If AA isn't for you, come along, meet people. It makes all the difference.
Yeah,
it's magical, isn't it? Like, I know that sounds dead corny, but when you meet,
you go look at her gratitude in here now. That's what's going on.
I know, but I can't help it. Right, this is the moment when I feel like it's coming to an end, and I need to get across how amazing everything is and how grateful I am and how magical it is. But when you connect with people, I remember going to like some events and my old drinking friends going, "But what do you talk about?" I'm like, oh my God, like sober stuff. Like, and they could not get their head around it. But like, I would be with these people I'd never met, and we knew more about each other than if I'd spent all night telling them my life story in the kitchen, because you don't actually listen to each other when you're drinking.
And that's the presence bit coming in, not just with your kids, but with your friends and family and that as well, isn't it? It is amazing. I think it's a scary step, and like I say, but when you were at the pub drinking orange juice and lemonade, which is baffling, everyone looks at you like you're the weirdo, but you're not the one putting the toxin in your body.
I know. Like,
you're not the one spitting all over everybody, are you? Talking, you know?
Look at him with his orange juice, and he's a weirdo.
Like, when you look at it like that, it's actually like crazy, isn't it?
It is mad. It's just the way that we've all been brought up, and how advertised it's been and everything, that it's accepted, but in reality it's no better. Alcohol is no better for you than heroin. But if you say that out loud, people are like, what? No, it's not. But it's true. But people don't have to agree with me, but that's my opinion on it. But
nobody it's the truth that it's the most. It has been categorized as the most harmful drug because, first of all, more people have got access to it. So, like heroin, you don't. If everybody had access and wanted to use heroin, that would be more dangerous. But alcohol's just so readily available. It's so easily damaging. You know, it damages people financially. It damages relationships. It damages society. Violence. If you put everything together, it is the most harmful.
Yeah, and I think because it's legal, it's got a different persona about it, but and then people look at it differently. But
everybody knows somebody that has struggled with alcohol. Everybody.
Yeah, and been affected by it in some sort of way. Definitely.
Why am I so red? I'm sorry to put this on the end of your podcast, but why am I so red?
You're flustered.
No.
Go and hug a tree.
I'm gonna go to this one outside my window that I'm grateful for.
Well, actually, we are getting towards the end, so I'd like to personally thank you two for coming on, and it's been fantastic. It's like I've known you for years.
Yeah.
That's the impression I get. I'm just sitting here talking to two random strangers from somewhere up north. But whereabouts you from, girls?
Near Manchester.
So you're miles away from us. We don't know you from Adam, but you're talking to us like we've known each other for years. That's
and you have that. Both of you have got that about you, and that's why I feel like I know you. I had to remind myself when I was coming on here that I've listened to your podcast. You don't know me. So.
I was just about to say something really inappropriate, but I'm going to say it now anyway. I'm going to say you'd be great to go on the piss with.
We were
good to go. No, I would have been good, but I'd have hated myself the next day.
I'd have told it was all right.
At the start that I'd say things that I probably shouldn't. But that was in my head. But no, joking apart, thank you. And I would like to invite you on again further down the line once Sam and I have done loads more episodes of this and we're a bit further down the line to just have another little catch up maybe 6 months time.
We'd love to, and we'd love to find out how you're doing, Sam, as well. And I do want to talk to you about your cold water therapy. I've just started a course actually on cold water therapy, so and I love it.
Yeah, message me and we'll have a little chat and we'll arrange something.
That'd be great.
Give us the links to your podcast so anyone who's listened to this can listen to you.
Honestly, the best place to find anything that we have is on our website, which is Bee Sober, as in the buzzy bee, BEE, soberofficial.com. And the podcast is up there and our free sober experiment is up there. Everything we do is on the website.
I definitely recommend people checking that out.
Once I upload this, which will probably be tomorrow now, I'll add links to your website on there as well so everyone can see it. And
wicked. We'll send them over.
Girls, thank you so much, and keep doing what you're doing because you're putting positivity into a world that could be so negative, and you're very much appreciated.
Thank you, and you keep well done as well.
Thank you.
Proud of you. See you later.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.